without anybody paying a cent, in terms of that'd be the total cost, and the state would be fully powered by solar. So the economics don't make any sense to look at a new nuclear power plant. I think the other question that would be what kind of jobs factor would we get comparing a new nuclear plant to things like solar power and hydro. And the jobs factor is about 10 times higher when you're doing distributed renewable energy systems. Most of the cost of those systems is actually the labor, meaning the jobs, instead of high technology nuclear engineering. So I think that's an easy decision to make, and we don't really need to talk about the need, given that there's plenty of power in the meantime from Hydro-Quebec and the open market. Vermont is about 2% of New England grid capacity, and right now there's a 19% surplus capacity in the New England grid. So there's no downside in terms of utility prices going up if Vermont Yankee goes away.
Ed Larson.
Well, I'm intrigued by the question. I would be interested in looking at a new plan. I do understand the frustration people have. The majority of people are frustrated and are angry at energy. And I share that. But I also think the majority of people do believe that nuclear power should be part of our energy mix. I think that it's affordable. I think 6-cent power, if we can get the same amount of power we were getting before, it's a good deal. And I think we can move in that direction. Those are good jobs, high-paying jobs, and I recognize that. I support renewables. My statement is all of the above, but I don't think we can lose renewables quick enough. If we lose Yankee, we're going to have a terrible time being competitive in a global marketplace with our manufacturing, and I'm very concerned about that. I support trying to get away from the imported fossil fuels and move to a renewable area. The economics don't seem to add up that Galen just brought into me. He's probably said it more than I have, but it doesn't add up to me. So I would be interested in looking at the type of technologies and new technologies that nuclear could bring, and look at that. Maybe not license Yankee for the full 20 years, but maybe for enough time for them to be able to put in a new breeder plant. Something like that is intriguing to me, and I would be glad to explore that kind of option.
Donnie Osmond.
Well, I have to say that I've never been a fan of nuclear energy because the nuclear waste that needs to be stored safely for more than 10,000 years makes me very nervous. And when I look at the behavior of Entergy over the last few years that have run this nuclear plant, I don't trust them, and I don't think they've told us the truth. And so I think that really here in Vermont, one of the great things about Vermont is our scale. We're small. We need to do things locally. We're going to have a mix of energy, whether it's biomass, solar, wind, where it's appropriate. And I want to get in that somebody said recently to me, the cheapest kilowatt hour that we have is the one that we don't spend. That means we got to do efficiency. And we need to be really efficient with the energy that we use. And it needs to be a consciousness that comes into our homes every single day. And we have an enormous amount of creative people here in Vermont. We perhaps have the highest concentration of creative people in a small area right here in this state. I believe in my heart absolutely that with the kind of Yankee ingenuity that we have here in Vermont, we can solve our energy problems in a way that's sustainable.
Bill Doyle.
With respect to Yankee, I voted against Yankee for one of the reasons that Donnie Osmond just mentioned. The future would be alternate forms of energy. In California, is 22% renewable energy. No reason why we can't get that far. As far as using the wood that we have in this state, the biomass industry is now developing, can be developed more. Wind is doing very well in many of our communities. Solar has a future in solar. Some people are talking about natural gas. But most important of all is the alternate forms of energy create new jobs. And if that's what we're talking about, this debate is about jobs, but that's the number one issue facing us. Might just say that the power on the grid now is less than the cost of Yankee power. I might say
Anthony Molina.
Well, it's an interesting question because people bring it up from time to time, and frankly, I'd be willing to bet any of you a nickel that there are going to be no nuclear power plants built in Vermont or the United States in any of our lifetimes. Frankly, it's seen as an unprofitable and unsafe opportunity. People talk about why don't we have more nuclear power plants? Well, ask the industry, why aren't there more nuclear power plants? Nobody wants to build them, and no one will insure them. Right now, we insure as people. We're the ones who are insuring Vermont Yankee. There's nobody who will insure a nuclear power plant because they're too dangerous. So it's just not going to happen. I think that we can focus on efficiency, as has been mentioned, and we can save a lot of energy and a lot of money on efficiency. We can put a lot of people to work in efficiency, creating more efficient homes and buildings, both saving homeowners money as well as creating jobs. I think we can be a lot more creative in opening the doors and allowing the development of a whole range of renewables, be it wind, solar, wood, which would in fact put people to work and keep our energy dollars here at home. That's the kind of thing that we have to do, to be creative about how we look at our economy today and in the future. You know, one thing I would say about the planning around Vermont Yankee, you know, we're in a situation now where people say we can't shut it down because we have no way to replace it. First of all, that's not true. But the real problem is that the Douglas administration and others have made it clear that, have made it certain that they've done no planning for the closure of Vermont Yankee. They knew when it was licensed that it was going to be shut in 30 years. But they've done nothing to plan for it. When the plant was sold to Entergy, I and a few others proposed that some of the windfall profit from that sale be set aside into what we call the Renewable Energy Fund. And that money would have been used to retrain workers and develop renewable energy businesses in Vermont and build a renewable energy institute on our state colleges. So we would be prepared for the closure of Vermont Yankee. That's what we should have done.
David Harrington.
Thank you. It is an interesting question, and I honestly can't sit here and say that I have enough information to answer that yes or no. That would have to work out, but I will say this, is that there's a lot of criticism pointed at the Douglas administration for a lot of inaction around Vermont Yankee. Well, prior to Douglas, there was Governor Dean, a Democrat. I didn't really hear too much about Vermont Yankee then. Vermont Yankee's been around a long time. Yes, there's some issues. Yes, the press reports on various things that have been going on down there. A lot of the politicians have their own opinions about what's going on down there. And as I sit here today, I don't know where the truth is. The marketing campaign that Vermont Yankee is putting on right now by their employees or people that profess to be employees have a lot of good things to say about Vermont Yankee. So I do think that we need to be looking at our energy needs in Vermont now and in the future. And I don't think that nuclear should be off the table. Maybe we need to be looking at investing in remodeling or reworking the plant, the existing plant somewhere down there to instead of building a brand new one. But I don't think that wind power or solar power subsidized by the taxpayers is the way to go either. These should be private developments, and they should sink or swim on their own without assistance from the taxpayer. And right now, I think there's a lot of discussion about that, and I think there's a lot of Act 250 permitting processes that's going to make it very difficult for these wind farms and these solar farms to get up and running too. So, thank you.
Okay. Well, we are in Merritt at the Old Labor Hall, and this next question is about Barry. Some Barry residents feel that they shoulder a disproportionate burden in accommodating furloughed prisoners in central Vermont. This question comes from the audience. So the question is, do you agree? And what other comments do you have on corrections and public safety issues? And we'll start with Gail.
Well, I can say I'm not familiar with that particular issue or concern. I think that there are a lot of ways that Vermont could reform our justice system to reduce costs and to better get our communities working together. I'm curious, maybe the question could clarify, what type of criminals are we talking about for this furlough issue?
I'm not sure if the person who proposed the question wants to comment on that, but generally speaking, these are people who are served their time, are out of jail, and are being re-entered